Hey TCS viewers, it's Chris Niccolls here, and we've got a little bit of an urban shoot for you today with the brand new Sony RX100. This camera is a powerhouse because this is taking on things like G12s and X10s, but look at the size of that. One of the most powerful cameras in one of the smallest bodies. And really, I could see a camera like this being great for a pro photographer to have in their pocket. It's very capable, it's got some interesting stuff. I'm gonna take you through it. Let's go do it. Now, one of the great things about the new RX100 is the lens on this thing. Sony's had a big trend lately to put Sony G lenses in a lot of their cameras, and they are nice, but it's nice to see the Carl Zeiss name back. This is a 28-105 equivalent lens, very, very sharp, I'm sure, and what I'm gonna do is shoot our mosaic here, do a little bit of a distortion test here, shooting at the extremes, 105 and at 28. Now, as to be expected right off the screen here, I can see that there's very, very little distortion. Let's go on and close and try this at the wide end. So really nice results to be expected, of course, from this Zeiss lens. Now, what about the bad downsides? Well, 28mm, I would like it to be a little bit wider. 24 would be nice for street shooting. And if you compare it to competitors like the Fuji X10, that lens does give you an f2 to 2.8 throughout its range. This is 1.8 to 4.9, so not quite as fast at the long range. Still, you gotta remember, this sensor is way bigger. And when that lens gets put away, nice and slim, that's a good bonus. Now the Sony RX100 looks like a point and shoot camera, it feels like a point and shoot camera, but of course there's so much more in there. Now, as far as handling goes, it's got a great classy feel, all metal construction's really nice. Thumb grip on the back is nice, but you know, the front, it's just smooth, bare metal, and that's scary, it's quite slippery. You know, on a camera like this, it's me, I'm not gonna use a strap on this thing, and so it really does feel kinda scary to hold on to. Now, as far as customizability goes, this camera has it in spades. I mean, we've got a function button here on the back. We can go in and set anything. ISO, white balance, picture styles, exposure comp. It's a really, really handy key. You're gonna use it a lot. Now, the other thing is, we've got this front ring, very much like an S100, but I do like that there's no steps. It's nice and smooth, so it gives us something we could use for manual focus, for example, very well. Now, this front control ring can be customized exactly the same as your function button here, with basically every control imaginable to be set for that. However, we're using this as a manual camera for street photography. We're going to want to set this ring to do something like aperture or shutter speed, of course. Well, this brings me to one complaint I have about this camera. When you set this for aperture or shutter speed and you turn the ring, there's this noticeable delay, and everything has to catch up to your choice, and that's just a pain. I mean, I dare you to try and stop on 5.6, for example, and predict accurately where it's actually going to stop. It's like Wheel of Fortune or something. So I would still stick with this back ring here. It works really quick, really, really nice. I simply push down and I can set my aperture, push down again, and I'm right back to shutter speed. It's so much quicker. Sony gives you a beautiful display here. I don't know why you would use the front ring for aperture or shutter other than it's fun. You know what I would do? Set it to ISO, because for some reason, with this camera in ISO, that front ring works great, and it also works beautifully for manual focusing. Now, one other thing you're gonna find, let's say I do set this front ring for ISO and I'm used to that. If I click over to manual focus, that ring is now manual focus. So I'm gonna have to set my ISO somewhere else, like with the function button. Just keep that in mind when you're shooting this camera. Now, an interesting function on the Sony RX100 is its macro capability. You don't have to go into a macro mode like you would normally do on a point and shoot with a fixed lens, but just like a point and shoot, it does tend to do better macro at the wide angle range of the lens. Now, at first I thought with a larger sensor like we have in here, we're not gonna get very, very close macro. It's gonna be like a G1X almost, but actually this camera focuses beautifully close up. I'd say we're getting about 3 inches of working distance, and it really focuses great and gets us really close. Very impressed by that, actually. Nice soft out of focus background too, beautiful bokeh. All right, so definitely dark in here. Let's see how the RX100 can handle low light situations. Now, looking at the files on the RX100, we have to remember that we're dealing with a 1-inch chip. Now, that's huge for a camera this size. That's on par with a Nikon 1. Not as big as the mirrorless cameras out there, but certainly beats anything like a G12 or an X10. I also like the 2:3 aspect ratio. That's really nice, matches an SLR. Now, of course, that is a fairly big chip until you consider that they've rammed 20 megapixels into this thing. We would expect low light performance to be not very good, but take a look at these photos. I mean, Sony has just come up to the door on low light performance and just kicked the out of it. I mean, they're breaking it down. It's great. Sharp detail, really, really nice. No color noise, and the pattern is not abusive. I mean, look at this, 1600 ISO, 3200 ISO, going up to 6400, we get great results. So a real winner here. Sony has really turned it around. Now, of course, we're shooting a lot of JPEG today, but the camera does shoot RAW, of course. It's just that the software we like to use doesn't support the RAW files yet, but that's going to change very soon, of course. But you know, one of the other great things about the RX100, one of the very cool things that Jordan and I are excited about, is this camera is actually a fantastic, amazing video camera in a tiny pocket camera. So let's get this camera set up and play with that next. Now, the Sony RX100 does have some excellent features when it comes to a video camera functionality. One of them namely being, of course, the control ring we've talked about for manual focus. It's very smooth, and you have peaking to assist you. 3 different levels of sensitivity. You get red, white, or yellow, and it does it during recording, so that's excellent. One thing the camera doesn't have, though, is a neutral density filter built in, and it's bright out here, and of course, there's no way to really add filters onto this thing, so here, Jordan, I'm just gonna steal yours. Yeah, there we go. And find some way to stick that on. Now, having used the movie mode on this camera for a few minutes, there's some stuff that I love about it, and there's some things I don't like either, and let's talk about those first. Now, of course, the manual focusing ring I do like, but having used it now, I find that it's got a really long focus draw. You gotta turn it and turn it and turn it to do focus pulls, which is unfortunate because you can't do them smoothly. You know, other things like the peaking, it's nice to have the peaking on here, and it does help even on this small screen, but I still had a really hard time making sure I was in focus where I wanted to be. Now, you might say on the internet, okay, hang on, Chris, this camera can output to an external monitor via HDMI. That should take care of all your problems. Well, let's try that. We screw our rig on here onto the bottom with our bracket. We put our monitor on there. We go to take the HDMI cable, plug it in. Where is the port? Well, it's actually buried underneath whatever you attach in the tripod socket. They put it right next to that socket. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, they should have put it on the side. So that really makes it very limiting. You know, 24p, the lack of, it's not a huge deal. They could update it in firmware, but it'd be nice to have so I could mix with more cinematic footage from a higher end camera. And no mic input, but that's a small thing. That's to be expected on a camera of this size. But there's a lot to love about this camera for video. I mean, full manual control, it works great. It's easy to set with the rings. You do have a full autofocus as well and continuous, which is not something you're gonna get on an SLR, of course. That works well anyways. And some other features are really great too, like 60p, 1080 on a camera this size. That's incredible. But most importantly, this camera's image quality in video is amazing. I mean, just beautiful. You could easily mix it with other footage from higher end cameras. The usual AF100 we use, this would go in very nicely. I mean, I think Jordan was even saying he liked the look of the video here on this camera better than the Sony NX70 he's using right now. So you know what, folks? Yeah, it's missing some of the features that would make it the ultimate pocket movie camera, but as a B cam to get really high quality footage, this is incredibly good and incredibly small, so I still love it for that. You know, I've really enjoyed using the Sony RX100 today. I mean, the autofocus on this thing too, also very quick. It doesn't hunt, it goes right to your target and shoots. Pretty simplistic interface to move your focusing point around, but it works. Simple and it works. Now, the frame rate's also very quick. I mean, this thing will sustain about 3 frames per second shooting rate, which is comparable to a lot of entry-level DSLRs. And you can even push it up to 10 as long as you don't need focus for about half a second, but it's a nice quick burst, so the camera's not lacking in speed either. I mean, really, we've tried this camera today. It's been very enjoyable. It's got some quirks for sure, but I've never seen a camera this small that gives you that kind of image quality, that quality of lens, and that kind of video camera capability as well. It draws comparisons to cameras like the Fuji X10, which are in a similar price point, but certainly this camera gives you a lot of the same features for a much smaller package. Now you might say, oh, okay, the cost, it's getting us close to a DSLR. This isn't trying to be a DSLR. This is trying to be a super compact camera that can give you excellent DSLR quality images, very close to that, and great movie capability as well. It's so customizable, you can make the camera behave the way you want it to. I could certainly see this in my pocket. It was a really enjoyable camera to use today.
Hey guys, it's Jordan from the Camera Store. Thought I'd come out in front of the camera again to talk about the Sony NX70 that we shot this video on. Now, it was supposed to be a downpour today, just pouring rain all afternoon. So I brought out the NX70, which is the only weather-sealed professional camera on the market right now. We were going to test that out. And then, of course, we just got a beautiful, lovely day all day today. So we didn't get a chance to test that aspect of it out. Now, that being said, it gave me an opportunity to just look at it as a camera. And I was really impressed, actually, with the sharpness of it. It's easily the best stabilizer I've seen on a camera this size, definitely better than the Canon and Panasonic equivalents. But I did have a couple issues with it. First of all, the filter thread, there's a 43mm back here, but I tried putting a Hoya filter on there and then I can't mount the hood, so it was almost useless. So I wound up taping a drop-in filter to the front of it. Now, I do find there's not enough external controls on this camera. It all pretty much runs off the touchscreen or this one focus ring that has 3 different functions. It's not ideal if you have to quickly change settings. I wasn't a huge fan of that. Also, it is a small sensor, so everything's in focus in a shot. Now, I've gotten really used to shooting with the AF100, the Canon DSLRs, Panasonic GH2. I love having that cinematic option to knock the background out of focus, and I don't get that with this camera. So I can't see it being one of our new main cameras. But when we're out in the rain, it's going to be fantastic. If you're doing outdoor adventure video, documentaries, anything where it's going to take some abuse, it's really nice to have an option that's built from the ground up to endure that.